Hi friends, today I have the honor of introducing to you Dr. Apoorva Kabra. He is ranked 97 in this NEETPG exam. He was also ranked 99 in the November AIMS exam. It is an awesome performance.
Thank you, sir.
Considering the number of students who sit in this exam. It is almost 1.5 lakh candidates that appear for this exam. It is a great rank.
Thank you, sir.
How are you feeling today?
I am feeling great. Basically, achieving my goal is what really was the most important thing for the whole last year, and really getting the ranks in all 3 exams was a really great feeling.
Yeah, and it is the most important thing is that this rank should enable you to take the branch of your choice.
Yes, definitely.
So that is the valuable
most important thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So may I ask you, like, which branch was your
my
goal?
dream was always to take orthopedics. Like, since a long time, since like around 2 years, I've always strived that I want to do orthopedics, and so I'm very happy that I'll get orthopedics wherever I want in the country at this point of time.
Definitely, I'm sure at this rank you can get orthopedics in all the top places.
Yes.
I wish you all the best for that.
Thank you, sir.
And he was a 3-year student at DAMS. He joined us at Foundation, then later on followed it up with a test and discussion course.
Yes.
And we are very proud of your achievement. Do let us know, what was your experience in the classroom when you entered for the first time? Like when you entered for the first time in the 3rd minor year maybe, and how did you, what changes that you felt were happening, because this was a totally different ball game altogether.
Yes.
How did you find it?
Actually, when I really started my foundation years, I was pretty determined that I have to attend every class, and I have to take notes of every class, and I have to be attentive in the class as much as possible. I cannot keep attention for 8 hours, 10 hours, but as much as possible. Keep it in breaks, keep it in some spaces like 40 minutes, 1 hour, and pay attention. And every time you just have to remind yourself that this is the most important thing which you're going to do, and this is what is going to impact everything. And this is the same thing which I keep telling ahead to whoever my juniors or like my sister, everybody. I just keep saying the same things, that you have to persist with it, and you have to know that this is the most important thing that you're supposed to do.
It's very important to consider your journey important, I'm sure. Because if you value it, if you value your goal, you will, put effort in the journey.
Yes.
So that goal has to be set so that you value it, and you know that other people also want a similar thing.
Yes.
So I have to do better than
the others. Yes, you have to have a goal. I think keeping a goal since the start really helped me a lot. I always knew what I have to do and how much I have to do. Sometimes, like for people, I don't like taking a lot of stress out of stuff. So I used to just pass my time. I used to watch a lot of movies and do a lot of stuff in my internship as well. When people usually tend to say that it is like the most hectic time, so you don't have time to do anything, but you need that break. If you don't take that break, then the things won't really settle in your brain, and you won't be able to recollect them at the most important time, which is in your exam.
And it is also important to manage your mind also. You can you're studying, but you have to balance it things so that you don't get burned out.
Yes.
I may add a question here also. Like, was this your plan to stay motivated all through run, that you balanced things?
Yes,
how did
definitely.
you do this?
It depends. People have different interests. Everybody has their interests in whatever they like. I have my interests in like table tennis and movies. So that is my core extracurricular interest. So I keep a time frame. If I study this much, then I'll get to do that. And if you really make your mind that you have to do this much and then you'll get to do that, you really try to achieve it as fast as possible, because you know that something good is going to happen after that. And that continues not just for a day, it continues for the whole journey. If you start like at the foundation course, you start chalo, my goal is this, and I have to achieve that, and then I know that fruitful things will happen after that, then you obviously are more enthusiastic to achieve that goal.
Yeah. And I think, you mentioned about, table tennis, I think adding a physical game to the entire, process is also very helpful, I think.
Yes.
Helps you, switch off your mind from everything on the game.
Yes.
And then, you have you sweat out a bit, and maybe you get a better sleep also, I think.
Yeah.
So adding a bit of physical game also helps, I think.
Yeah, it helps in a lot of things. It helps not just like in your it does help even in your exams, I'll say. Like, you can concentrate better, and a lot of things really change if you are doing something which is extracurricular and which is fruitful.
Yeah, and the true sportsman spirit is that we play to win,
Yes.
but if we lose, we accept
Do
it
not
with
get
sportsman
disappointed.
spirit.
Yes,
And also,
yes.
but we play always to win.
Yes,
Although we know that some will lose, someone will win, but you always play to win.
Yes.
That is the true sportsman spirit.
Yes, that is definitely a thing which I'll say that everybody should keep in mind. You need to be aware that sometimes some days might just not work your way. And so that is why you always have to keep that in mind. And yes, sports really helps in this aspect.
Yeah. And what was the later on role of those class notes that you made in the class? Like, were they helpful in the internship when you were revising in the final part?
Not just in my internship. I have done a lot of my final prof papers just by reading those notes. Especially for OBGY, especially for surgery, the notes which I've made are going to stay with you for a long time. And even today, when I will try to recollect anything from the past, wherever I need it, it is always going to be the notes. And especially the most important thing is when you make those notes yourself, you know what is nice, what was important, you underline that, you mark that better, which you won't understand by anything else, not just by notes, by videos, by anything else. That is the most important thing, that you know what is important in all of the things which is written out of there.
And he's rightly pointed out that when we say notes, it means something that you have sat in the class, understood, but then you have written it your own self. So that is reflecting your understanding at that moment. So when you read it later on, you already know what you were feeling and understanding at that moment. It is easier to recap.
Yes.
And that part goes away when you look at somebody else's notes, and that suddenly you feel that these papers worked for him, but they are not working for me. So you have to keep this in mind. And I have seen some people say that I am writing notes for you. It doesn't work out. You have to write them for your own self. I think that is the most important thing, that you have to go the hard way. You have to train hard to win big in the end, I think.
Every time in anything, I guess, in life, this holds true for everything in life. If you want to win big, if you want to do something, if you have a goal which is set high, you have to strive for it. If you just set a goal and you don't strive for it, you're not going to achieve it any which ways.
That means you're not serious about your goal then.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Then
so or maybe that sometimes I've seen people say things for the sake of saying, but they don't really mean it. But if you really mean it, you will have to put efforts to show that you really mean it. Yes, and that is the key to success. So what role did the testing platform that we have played in your success? Like, did you utilize the test, grand tests?
The grand tests, yes, I did utilize a lot of them. They give you a whole aspect, a wholesome experience. You know how much time you need for the whole paper, how much time you have. If you have set that goal, that is one very important aspect which you should cover right in the beginning, so that you can really make amends in it whenever you want. I mean, as fast as possible as well. The other thing is, you know that the questions, you don't know which question is going to be followed by which question. So you get that experience that if you're not getting a few questions right, you have to handle it better. You know that you don't have to get overawed by it and think that the paper is very difficult and I'm not going to get it, because you can just switch like 100 questions ahead or 200 questions ahead, or just go to the end of it and then come back. You'll find that things become simpler, and once you start getting these ideas, you can utilize them in the paper, in the final exam, and you know what is going to help you in that final exam if you give these exams as a mock or a testing basis.
And what was your experience with the CBT?
The same thing. I mean, in my CBT also, and the CBT especially, that the dividing the aspects like part 1, part 2, part 3, that really helps. You know that, okay, and that part coming in the final exam, that really helps, because it saves a lot of time, because you know that it's going to be out of the 3 subjects or out of the 6 subjects or out of the whatever subjects are left. So you don't really need to think about it for that long, and you know that how are you going to get to the answer. You know which notes to really remember and which part to remember. So that really helped.
What was your CBT rank?
I was 102 in the CBT 2.
And so, and you ended up at 97 in NEET. Are you happy with the correlation that we could achieve?
Yeah,
you wanted to do even better,
I was 150 in CBT 1, so I came 99th in AIMS, so I was thinking I'll get like 50. But I'm very happy with 97. I'll get orthopedics wherever I want, so that really works.
And a good number of students appear for the final CBT, so that gives a good correlation in the real exam.
Yes.
And I would now want to know from you, like, what role did the DAMS Facebook group, the discussions that we have on the Facebook group, the eMedicos app, all that,
I'd like to specially
mobile-based
mention
things,
like
work
the
on.
eMedicos app at the start, because the eMedicos app, you have updates coming up which are very nice. Yeah, I mean, not just updates like on information basis, but on a lot of new stuff which like teachers, I mean, UA dams have been putting up. Like before my Central Institute exams, before my AIMS exam, I know that infectious disease is an important aspect. I know there was a video of it. I know that emergency medicine is an important aspect. There were 6 or 7 videos of it which were excellent. And if it does not like directly come in the exam, but it will somewhere or at some point of time really strike out. Similarly, for like the new pattern that you have video lectures for the past papers, that really helps, because you can really know a lot of things which are just around the question, which they keep repeating. And especially in central institutes like AIMS, you have this thing that they'll repeat the same questions, and once they repeat the same questions, if you know about it, it really helps a lot.
Plus that does away with the effort that you would do if you read from a guide,
Yes,
then think what is it, what they will ask, and here you have a teacher quickly telling you the 5 important
A
points and what
very
to do.
important thing which why I'd recommend everybody to do these questions or these videos is that a lot of effort has been put in them. You don't have to do that effort. And if the very most important thing which you can do in this point of time is save time, and there is no other better way to save time than just doing these videos or stuff like that.
And may I also ask you a very important question, that you are somebody who's done well in both the exams. You had a rank 99 in AIMS, 97 in NEET. So maybe at this moment you can help us by comparing the two exams, like for a future aspirant, somebody who's going to appear for AIMS or NEET in future, and he wants to target both the exams. What are the things that he should keep in mind for both of them, and what are unique for each of them?
Yeah. One thing about AIMS is you know what questions are going to come. Really, you know that this question is going to come. It is written in the past AIMS papers. It is written in the pattern, and your teachers will teach you that this question is going to come, and it will come.
Predictability is there.
Yeah, the topic is completely predictable. What is going to come? Number 2, they focus more upon clinics. They focus more upon slight bits of mischief in questions, which you won't find anywhere else. And even after coming out of the paper, you'll find that people will be discussing with you, and you will realize that, oh, this was just this little bit thing was different, or somebody else, you can really correct people that there was this aspect to that question which you've missed, and you'll definitely miss a lot of aspects. So you need to be ready for it. You need to be aware about it, and that is why just 200 questions in that exam really helps, because you have the time for it. Similarly, completely different to it is the NEET. There nowadays you do have a few clinical questions here and there, especially like medicine parts, and that if you've prepared well for AIMS, that really comes out better, because you know those questions. You know that this is the kind of question which this is the answer for. Especially in MCQs, this can become a little like helpful for you if you're able to analyze that this is the answer for this question. Whereas like for the other aspect, for NEET, you do have a lot of one-liners, not really, but questions which you need a lot of memory for. And for that, I think the main recommendation I would have is do your notes again and again and again. I did them in my 7th semester, in my pre-final year. I did them in my final year. I did them in my internship. I've read each and every notes whichever I have made for at least 5, 6, 10, 20, I don't know how many times. So that is like the most important thing.
And I believe that every time you will read notes, you will notice something extra. You
Yes.
notice one more dimension that why teacher was mentioning it.
Yes.
Because sometimes what happens is you hear a lecture from us in 6th semester, but even if I'm delivering a point, maybe at that time you were not able to grasp that why am I saying this, and later on when you read that notes again in internship, by now you have done some clinical routine, you suddenly understand, okay, this is why he was telling this.
Yes.
And so that part helps. And I see this phenomena happen to me even when I'm reading textbooks. When I have read the same book as a resident and I read the same chapter now as a consultant, I know there's a gap. At that time I could not grasp what the author was trying to say, but now I'm able to pick up more, and maybe in future, God willing, I should be able to pick out more. So but that process keeps on going. So reason I'm spending time on this point is because sometimes as youngsters sometimes they feel that if I'm repeating the same thing, I'm wasting time. They are undervaluing the value of riyaz, value of practice. When you do the same thing again and again, you become better. So revision means revisiting the same material. It has important role in competitions.
Yes.
So don't underestimate it. Don't get bored of it. And
Yes.
my 2 pieces into it.
Yeah, you just have to start early with the notes. If you started in the 6th and 7th semester, if you've read it once, then you know that in the final year when you read it again, you'll really have a little retention and you won't waste that much time on it as well. And at the end of the day, in your internship, you have less time for it and you have to get the most out of everything. So if you've read those notes before, at least once, maybe twice, then it really will help you a lot.
Now, any particular teachers and dams that come to your mind today, whom you want to mention today, because many of them would be listening to your, interview today, and maybe, because they also feel good about it because they've put in a lot of work.
Sir, firstly, I'd like to say just about you that not just the radio class, everything, every organizing part, everything important things which you put up. I know somewhere down the line, the brain, the output is there. The eMedicos app, everything which has come new, the output is there directly from you. So my OBGY notes are like the best notes, and those are the best notes, I'd say. I mean, no discrimination or anything. I mean, to anybody, no hard feelings, but those are the best notes you can get anywhere, or you can make and you can learn OBGY the best from them. Then I'd like to mention my orthopedics notes. I have a special connection with orthopedics, so definitely Tushar Mehta sir's notes are very important. ENT notes, I'll say, because my ENT was not a strong subject. ENT was my weak subject, and I just read the notes, and those were really helpful. Because it is a short subject, you don't need to really focus on anything else. It takes less time. Those notes are very important, and they'll cover almost everything. You don't need to add anything to those. Those are excellent notes, those ENT notes. And similarly, I'd like to mention OFTHA, like Rajratna ma'am also adds a lot of videos on the OFTHA, on the dams group. Those are also helpful if you really put in that time for it.
And now if I may ask you to motivate the future aspirants, like you have been through patches of good, patches of tough times. Remember when you had a good, fairly decent rank in AIMS, but this time in AIMS there was no seat for orthopedics, and you wanted to, so you had your own share. So what would you say to future aspirants?
See, most importantly, do not get disheartened by anything. I really regret getting disheartened by not having a seat in orthopedics just a week before. When you come to know such things which happen a little while before your exams, they really impact you. And if you have to be strong in those. If you are not strong at those times, that really affects everything. It affects your paper most importantly, and it will affect everything around your life after that. Because if you're not able to perform well in that exam, it will hamper you some way or the other in your brain at least. However strong you keep yourself, but it will affect you. Number 2, I know it will be disheartening at times, but don't get disheartened by such stuff. You'll come over it. You'll get something you'll always have a next chance. You always have a next chance. It is not like your chances are finished or anything like that. You'll always have a next chance, and you can always improve on what you've done in the past. So that is definite. And one thing which for motivation, just do something extracurricular with your curriculars, which really will help, and always persist. My main simple standard motto for everything is you have to persist with it. If you don't persist with it, it is not going to work out. You have to persist with it.
And I would say that in these exams where you are appearing for multiple competitive exams in continuity, you have to reduce the emotional reaction that you are having to situations. Like suppose just before the exam you hear something and then you have a intense emotional reaction to it, you will suffer in the exam. You will mess up the entire rhythm that you were building up. So when we are looking at multiple exams today, when you will be giving exams in future, I'm telling to the future aspirants, in November you will have a series of 1 week, next exam. Then so if you are able to minimize your emotional reaction to what happened in the past exam, you can go with a clean slate and do better in the next exam, and in the end you can only do 1 PG seat. So it would not matter in the long run. But if you allow the emotions to overpower you, you will suffer. So you have to learn to do the emotional reaction, then minimize it, spend minimum days on it, and then get back to it, and you have to practice it.
Definitely, especially on those days, like just 1 week ahead you have another exam. If you really get hampered, like the AIMS result came 2 days before my PGI exam, and that really affected me. I'll be honest with it. It really affected me, and I could not do that well in my PGI exam. I was like 140 or something there. So I was not happy with that, just because 2 days before I had done that. And I realized that by the time Jipmer came, I was a little bit more sorted in my brain, and I did better. I got 52 over there. So it really helps if the earlier you can get over it, the better it is.
Because that is just one exam. There are other exams coming up. It is always, remember, you can't do PG in all institutes together. You'll do only one. So let's reduce the emotional reaction on everything, and then you will be able to get on to the job that you have to do. You have to work hard immediately or as soon as possible. Is the key.
You have to get a good rank only in one place. You don't need to get anywhere else. Even if you get 70,000, 90,000, whatever, it does not matter. You have to get one rank. That is all.
Yes. And any particular message that you want to give to your family and friends through this medium?
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to thank my mom most importantly, because she's always persisted with, me. I've been bad at times. Like studying and all that. It really hampers time. You cannot spend adequate time with your parents. They feel bad about it at times, but she's always been there for me. Same goes with my dad, my sister, my grandmother. My friends, I have friends who I study with regularly on a regular basis, like whatever she or he is studying, the same thing I will study, and then we'll cross question each other, and that really helped me a lot in getting a good rank in almost all exams. That was only because I had somebody to compete with, I had somebody to talk with. If I did not have a competition, which is given by DAMS as well, like those tests which you give, I had a local competition in my own self. So that really helps to keep you going. If you have somebody who can compete with you or who can be with you, who can tell you that, chalo, this is what you have to do by this much time, and you can discuss about it later on. You know that if you're lacking, you have to get back up and you have to buck up with it. And I'd like to thank all my friends for that, all my juniors, my seniors, whoever have ever supported me with whatever minute things I've needed, and I'd really like to thank all of them.
And with this, I would once again like to congratulate you on your exemplary performance.
Thank you, sir.
I am sure the country would have a great orthopedic surgeon in you in future. Sir. And I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate your parents, your family, everybody who are all associated with you. Heartiest congratulations.
You,
God bless.
Thank you. God bless.